committee or subcommittee for allowing me to participate. What we're seeing, I think, is a genocide, or at least an attempted genocide, in Ethiopia. We've seen 20,000 soldiers in the Ethiopian army imprisoned months ago, simply because of their Tigrayan heritage. We've seen a total media blackout in Tigray. We've seen Tigrayans referred to by top Ethiopian government officials as cancer, weeds, and rats, worthy of extermination. We've seen statements of concern by the UN Special Advisor for the Prevention of Genocide. The Ethiopian and Eritrean governments have blocked humanitarian aid as up to 900,000 Tigrayans face famine. And recently, over 30,000 Tigrayans in parts of Ethiopia outside Tigray have been herded into concentration camps where God knows what is happening to them. But in addition to the tens of thousands that have been herded into concentration camps, we see hundreds of thousands, at least 900,000, facing famine. And Dr. Putnam, the issue is, why aren't we getting them the food aid? Now, the trucks are blocked, so the first question is about air. We raised this with USAID, and we were told, in part, USAID is airlifting relief supplies to Addis. Well, obviously the Ethiopian government seems bent on killing as many Tigrayans as possible, so those trucks are not going, that aid is not going to get to the Tigrayan people. Why are we not flying these aid directly into Tigray, into Melke?
The volume of people who need food assistance is enormous, as you've noted.
As was the population of Berlin in 1948.
Nowhere near the same size. In fact, we're talking about needing to get in food for somewhere on the order of 6 to 7 million people across Afar, Amhara, and Tigray. And
now, trucks are being allowed by the Ethiopian government, except into Tigray, as I understand it.
Well, the situation is really fluid, unfortunately.
I understand, but focusing just on Tigray.
So
you're saying, I mean, you may not be able to save all the people, but every plane can save thousands of people. Why are we not flying in aid?
There are sort of two reasons. We are continuing to work on trying to get access for our trucks, which would take a much greater
Why
volume.
are we not flying in
And I'm
aid?
about to answer, sir, that first of all, there have been airstrikes recently, and we haven't been seeing planes going into Tigray.
So you're afraid the
order
Ethiopian government would shoot down American planes? Would they dare to do that? Assistant Secretary, what would be our reaction if an American aid plane were fired upon by Ethiopian forces bent on killing as many Tigrayans as possible and killing Americans in order to do it?
Obviously, that would not be an acceptable response from a government that has historically been our partner. But I want
is the U.S. Air Force willing to protect American or UN planes as they bring critically needed supplies necessary to prevent this genocide by famine?
that would be a decision that would, of course, be taken above my.
I would hope that you would consult Secretary Blinken.
Yes.
I remember the Clinton administration's reaction after Rwanda of wishing we had done more, and there's clearly we can do more than we are. As to the trucks, it seems as if the Eritrean and Ethiopian military are determined to make sure that they don't reach Eritrea. How many trucks have been allowed in by those two militaries in the last month?
We're trying.
I assume a very tiny number compared to the need.
Yeah, we're trying not to worry so much about the trucks, but sort of the volume of aid.
Is the volume of aid?
And the volume of aid, we've only had in the last month about 11% of the volume of aid that would be required.
11%.
There was recent,
And Assistant Secretary, have we even asked, because I know what the answer would be, the Eritrean government to simply allow us to land food at Eritrean ports and to have our trucks go directly into Tigray?
As you know, our relationship with Eritrea is very negative at the moment, given the Eritrean.
But it would be nice to ask and have them say, no, we would like to have blood on our hands. We want to see as many Tigrayans as possible die from famine. We will not allow our ports to be used. Just to put it on the record so that I don't seem that unreasonable when I say that maybe somewhere on the high seas, a ship bound for Tigray should be asked to turn around by a U.S. naval ship. The fact that Eritrea would use its military to intervene in order to commit a genocide on the Tigrayan people, and what is obvious to all is to blockade a starving people. We may not have absolute proof of where they deploy their soldiers, often in out of uniform or out of their own uniform, but every Eritrean port is closed to food aid. Let's send them a letter just so we get it on the record. But to say that Eritrea should be able to carry out ocean trade with all the countries of the world while participating in this genocide and blockading those who are dying of starvation it strikes me as unfair.
Mr. Congressman?
Yes.
Just to reflect the very important point and very legitimate concern you've raised, I just want to flag the sanctions that the U.S. government has imposed on the Eritrean parastatals that are funding this conflict.
We're not in a position to, we often sanction people who can't, and entities that can't be sanctioned. Eritrea has little relationship with us. We don't give them much aid. So then we announce we're taking away the minuscule or non-existent aid, and we say we've done something. It's reminiscent of the sanctions we imposed on the Russian hackers in our election, where we said we're not going to give them tourist visas. They don't want to come. It's hard to identify a major economic impact of our sanctions to date on Eritrea, whereas simply asking a single ship to turn around would send a hell of a signal. With that, I yield back.